Welcome to Charlotte Sports Today. I'm Chaz Bryant. Coming up on today's show, we'll talk to the man who's bringing professional lacrosse here to the Quenn City. Also, we'll have a couple of gentlemen who know a little about hard-hitting action in our MMA segment. They'll tell us how the sport's doing here in Charlotte. And finally, we'll wrap it up with a roundtable discussion with Pudgy Miller and Ken Hall. They'll have all the sports happenings with a Southern perspective. That's all coming up in about 20 seconds right here on Charlotte Sports Today. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm Chaz Bryant, and this is Charlotte Sports Today. We're only a few weeks into 2011, but 2012 for the Quenn City is shaping up pretty nicely. We already have one national political convention coming in, and also in the spring of that year we'll have a new professional team coming in, as the Major League Lacrosse will be bringing a franchise here to Charlotte. Now, the MLL already has 6 teams playing, one in Boston, 2 teams in the state of New York, a team in Maryland, 1 team in Canada, and 1 team out west out in Denver. However, the league will expand by 2 teams next year, Charlotte and Columbus. I was able to talk to the man who's bringing a team to Charlotte, Jim McPhillamy, a former executive with the Bobcat, and I asked him, how did we land a team out?
Well, about a year and a half ago, I was approached by some former lacrosse players that live here in the city now that have done pretty well, and they asked me to look into the business possibility of bringing a team here with them as investors, and I did, presented a business plan back to them, and they liked what they saw, and now we're bringing a team here.
Can you tell us a little about Major League Lacrosse?
Sure. Major League Lacrosse is the premier outdoor lacrosse league. There's an indoor lacrosse league, which is called National League Lacrosse. They play box lacrosse. The outdoor lacrosse is a little bit quicker. It's less physical, but you have to have some superior athletic skills to play it, and it's the top players in the country playing outdoors right here at Memorial Stadium.
How can a northern sport succeed right here in the South?
Well, I can tell you from experience that it's going to be great. We have met with all the people that run junior programs down here. The sport is expanding as quick as can be. I was just talking this weekend with one of the local store owners that provides lacrosse equipment to the schools. He had increased his orders by 30% from last season, and they're completely sold out. The sport is growing by leaps and bounds, and I think it's going to be doing great next year and in the years to come.
What will the reception be like here in Charlotte?
I think it'll be great. You know, I've always been a proponent of the more sports there are, the better it is for everybody. Sort of a rising tide lifts all ships. If you look at the super successful sports towns, Boston, New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Philadelphia, they have multiple sports opportunities, and the more sports there are, it seems the more interest there is in sports within the community.
Can you tell us a little about the youth aspect here in Charlotte?
Well, youth lacrosse has been growing here. You know, it started right in Freedom Park with a couple of guys that came from Baltimore, I guess back in the mid-1990s. They started lacrosse here, and really, so it's been around for about 16 years on the youth level, and there are around 3,000 kids, a little over 3,000 kids in Charlotte Metro now that are playing lacrosse. So it's the quickest growing team sport in the Carolinas. It's growing rapidly, and more people are picking it up all the time. So,
not too many people know this, but the Carolinas have a good reception already with college lacrosse. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Without a doubt. In fact, little anecdote, I had lunch with Hugh McCall this past summer and found out that he actually played on UNC's lacrosse team way back when, and somebody also told me that Johnny Harris did as well. So it does have a storied background. A lot of people are familiar with the sport. But it's an up-and-coming sport. It's not, not to the level of football or the NBA or, things like that. But over time, we hope to be right up there with the big boys.
Can you tell us a little about playing in Memorial Stadium?
It's built in mid-1930s, part of FDR's Build for America program. It was originally built in an Art Deco style. I guess there are some of the pieces, the famous walls around the side and the ticket booths that are still remnants of that. It's had, the Shrine Bowl used to be played here. Johnson C. Smith still plays football here. It's an old historic venue, and we couldn't be more proud to be coming to here and hopefully to be participating in raising some money in the future to help maintain and refurbish the venue.
You guys already have a strong following on Facebook. Can you tell us a little about the media, social aspect about marketing this team?
Well, I think you mentioned the social marketing aspects. We're not a big organization. It's not the Panthers or the Bobcats where you have 100-person staff that's able to execute stuff, and we don't have the budgets that they do. So we have to be reliant upon the community of Laxers to help promote our sport, and that's really what the social media helps us do. It gives our budget legs and hopefully gets a lot of people being advocates for us.
Do you have a team name so far?
There's not yet. We're actually going to open up a name the team contest. Not a contest, I shouldn't say that. It's a name the team process. We wanted to delineate between a contest and a process. We're going to let the fans actually go through the creative process in getting to the name, the logo, mascot, those types of things. And I think the participatory aspect of it will hopefully allow everybody to buy into wherever we land.
What's the key to success for this team?
Well, I think our first thing is community engagement with the youth lacrosse community. We have to be successful. If you play lacrosse, we have to be successful in making you interested in our product. We can't have a product that doesn't appeal to the people that are playing. That's our core group of people that have to attend the events, and it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we provide a product that they want to see. I think beyond that, we need to get around the peripheries people that are sports fans that may not have been exposed to the sport before, that come and check out a game and then decide it's something they like and want to come back and check out again.
All right, thank you very much, Jim McPhillamy. By the way, the fan page is already up to 1,046 people on Facebook. That's pretty good following in the short order that the team has already come online. And we touched briefly on the ACC aspect of lacrosse, and it has a pretty good track record in the NCAA tournament. Over the past 5 seasons, there has been at least one ACC team in the lacrosse Final Four. By the way, the streak of the basketball, ACC basketball NCAA Final Four is at 3, which was started back in 2000. Moving right along to something a little more physical, according to the state of North Carolina and the North Carolina Boxing Commission, which oversees the sport, 76 MMA, boxing, and tough man events took place last year, 11 more than in 2008 and 2009. A majority of them were MMA events. Already we've had 2 events in the city of Charlotte. There's going to be one more by the end of March, and we're on pace to maybe have 9 in Mecklenburg County. How about that's enough with all the stats. We've got 2 guys to talk about the sport. Anthony Wyatt is a local fighter right here in Charlotte. He's fought for some promotions. He's also the voice of MMA right here on Charlotte Sports Today. And the other guy right here is JJ Brantley, who is Elite Championship cage fighting, reigning featherweight champion. But on March 19th, he will defend his title for the 2nd time, I believe, versus Kevin Hewlin. So he's 19. He's not even legal enough to drink, so that's an important feat.
He's actually challenging for the bantamweight title.
Going down a weight class.
You're going down a weight class?
Yep.
I have to fire some reachers for that. How's it going in? So you're going in for your 2nd title. How is the preparation going in for this?
Great. I got a strength and conditioning coach now. Been working really close to get my weight so we do it the right way. Right now I'm within 5 pounds and I'm ready to go. Dime boxing, Satsuma Jiu-Jitsu, and Paul Boo's IMB has really got me ready for this.
I've said this once or twice, but seeing you come up from, I believe, seeing your first show. You seem like the kid who, when you're younger, you just did dares for people. You know, JJ will drink like the glue or something like that. Or JJ will climb the tree. Or how is it going from the transition now from doing that to, you know, actually getting in the ring? Now you're going to be at the Blake Hotel, pretty nice, swanky hotel now.
Just taking it all in stride, just focusing on training, and that's really all I do is just focus on the training and do everything I'm supposed to do.
It's pretty interesting, you know, seeing these. We've been around a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting seeing these guys migrate from, you know, maybe come out there being youngsters to now actually going out there and beat up somebody. You do it. You practice. You train all the time. I don't say you get beat up all the time.
But I do. Let's be honest. You know?
I think in North Carolina they sanctioned MMA back in 2008. How has the sport evolved?
You know, really, I was at one of the very first cards in North Carolina with Elite, and I was set up to fight on that. My opponent didn't make weight, my friend did, and it was just, you've seen a real evolution in the sport as fighters and as promotions as well. You know, there were no fight labs and you know, promotions like that coming up. Like one of the very first cards at Elite was in the Rec Center in Mooresville, and going to the Blake Hotel with guys like JJ. I mean, you've seen a real you know, growth in the sport, especially from that time.
It's sort of interesting. There's a lot of training that goes into this thing. You know, some people think you guys are just brawlers getting back out there behind alleys sometimes and fighting, but there's a lot of training that goes into jiu-jitsu, boxing, all this stuff. Can you talk about the different aspects that go into the sport?
Well, there's jiu-jitsu, which is the ground aspect of it, the submission aspect, very important. Be able to finish your opponent on the ground by using holds and submissions. Also, it's boxing, which is important for the hands, obviously. You have kickboxing or Muay Thai, which is good for kicks and knees. That is a very big necessity in wrestling, because it doesn't matter if you have jiu-jitsu and you're good at submissions if you can't take somebody down.
You got to have all the skills that go into it. I mean,
Yes, sir.
That's important, having all the skills that goes into it.
I'll agree with that, especially on the ground, because you know, you see a lot of guys that come out of the Muay Thai gyms, and people know as soon as like you take the Muay Thai guy down, he hasn't studied anything on the ground, he's done deal on the ground. And you know, that doesn't work out for a lot of guys. There are a lot of guys that have nothing but ground game, they can't stand up. You know, so you just start letting the hands go.
Talk about how you got into it a little bit. How did you, you know, decide you wanted to go, hey, I want to get up in the cage and start?
Well, I got my start with Satsuma Jiu-Jitsu. I would say I was 13 years old when I started working with them. And just ever since then, I kind of just knew I wanted to fight MMA. So when I turned 16, I started to box, and I worked wrestling out throughout high school. And pretty much just knew I was going to pursue this.
It's sort of interesting that you're 19, going for your second title versus Kevin Hewlin. But you also have school you do and jobs. How do you juggle such a thing?
Nursing school. I'm at nursing school at Stanley Community College. That's really rough because I have clinical days and stuff. I know it's a kind of a counterbalance there, but it's really tough sometimes. It really is. Sometimes you got to study. You know, it's just I got to train too. So.
Is it hard? Because a lot of these guys do it. A lot of amateur guys and some of the professional guys also have to do it. Is it hard to try to get that delicate balance of making it?
I think the hardest part really, like for somebody like me with crappy metabolism, is to, you know, like really just like balance your diet and then like be able to work off what you did eat during the day. And you know, that's a really hard part, especially with a weight cut. You know, if you miss that in like some states, here in North Carolina, they'll give you a little bit of a, you know, a leniency. But in like Virginia, if you're 1 pound off, they won't let you fight. You know, you're gonna have to cut that extra pound off, and really balancing that with like work, and you know, just like just living. You know, just like, you know, you want to have fun on the weekends and everything, but if you do something too much, you know, you're gonna put on too much weight, and you're not gonna be able to make weight. It's a problem.
Talk about the promotions, because we've gone to a couple of events, we've gone to elite shows. Talk about the differences in, I don't want to start singling anybody out. Talk about the promotion aspect of it, because not all of them are made the same. Some of them are a little more swankier, fancier. Some of them are sort of...
A lot of that, I think, is just like with sponsorship dollars. You know, if you have more funding, you're going to be able to put on a better show for the most part. Then you have some guys that just like, they have the better fighters, and they have a high quality product that they're putting out with their promotion just based off of their fighters and the fights that their fighters put on. And you know, we did that Ring of Dreams, and that was a really interesting fight card because half of it was MMA with the one pro fight, and then the other half was professional boxing. And I thought that was really interesting, and that was a lot of fun. I didn't really stick around for the boxing part, but you know, that was a really interesting thing for them to do.
Wrong with boxing or anything like that.
It's not that. It's just, you know, professional boxing for me is kind of boring with the point fighting, and nobody really tries to finish a fight anymore. You know, I don't, like I said.
But it goes to another subject that's probably for another day, but how MMA has overtaken boxing as more interesting to younger men, younger people now getting involved with.
But it just encompasses so many different aspects of fighting. You know, it's like the UFC says, it's as real as it gets. This is as close to a street fight as you can get without getting drunk in a bar and busting a bottle over somebody's head. You know, you're going out there, you can go to the ground, you can go against the cage, you can use your elbows, your knees, your kicks. Not in North Carolina, but you know, it's just the sport itself is very interesting in that it is as real as it gets.
And that's sort of the aspect I always touched on whenever I hear newer people come in there, that people think these guys are just rolling around and getting into fights and bars and stuff like that. You see JJ over here is doing pretty stand-up stuff.
JJ is a prime example of, you know, the evolution of mixed martial arts, because there were guys, you know, in the initiation of MMA, like 20 years ago, that some of them really were just like straight brawlers off the street. And then you had the guys that were true martial artists that would come in there, and like most of them were jiu-jitsu guys, and like they beat people not with, you know, brawling or their size or anything. They were beating people with technique. JJ is the kind of guy that like you meet him and, you know, you would never know he was a fighter. He's such a nice guy. You know, it's not like he walks around with like a huge ego at all. You know, and he really is a genuinely nice person. He does not have that swollen head that, you know, some of the guys we see, you know, that do fight like that, they are cocky. But like JJ would, if he did, you know, it would be totally backed up by his record, because he's got the striking, he's got the ground game, he's pulled off some of the craziest stuff on the ground that I've seen here in North Carolina. I've never seen a guy pull off a flying triangle choke. You know, it's something you see guys joke around about, and it just doesn't happen in the amateur rankings. And then he did the inverted triangle and set up the arm right here on Jacob Johnson. That's insane. You know, he really encompasses everything that's growing as mixed martial arts comes along.
Talk about if you can talk about the team element, the family element. Some of these schools have. A lot of these guys train together, and you guys sort of out there going to war with each other.
There's definitely a big family element. I mean, I just really can't even come to words about how much they've helped me and how much I try to help them as well. You know, it's just, you know, if somebody needs money for a tournament, people will help make sure that they can go to that tournament. It's just, I mean, it's just a giving and receiving, you know.
How important is sponsorships to you guys?
Sponsorships, we really don't have any sponsors except for the trainers. Actually tend to be more sponsors than anybody. They seem to help out a lot more and tend to give a lot more than we can give them.
Well, let's sort of talk about what's going on March 19th, not too far from here at the Blake Hotel. You're going up for your second title, which I was corrected on. You have a pretty good record right now, 5-1. I know that one was during a Muay Thai a fight, which, you know, not the whole MMA thing, but you're fighting a guy, I believe Kevin Hewlin, who hasn't been out there, if I'm correct, for a little while.
He definitely hasn't defended his title in close to a year. You know, the last time was actually at the Metrolina when he won it against Brantley Fur, and he hasn't. I don't know if he's been fighting for other organizations, but I know he hasn't defended that title.
I think
in a while.
Keith and Kevin mixed up. They're brothers.
Yeah, they're twins.
They look the same.
Yeah.
So
they got the K's, and like, you know, I can never remember who's got the title.
But how much forward are you looking to getting back in the ring? You haven't been up there. Well, you were up there in December, up in Lenore. Are you looking forward to this first fight of the new year?
Oh yes, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I've been incorporated strength and conditioning as well as wrestling, and a new wrestling coach and new Muay Thai coach, and I'm just really ready to see how much I've progressed since.
Yeah. Should be interesting. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing him try to get this second title. You know, like Hewlin is a really good fighter, and he's really well-rounded. But then again, so is JJ. And it's going to be interesting to see what he
You don't
what
wanna
he tries to
You don't want
implement.
to get on the limb and predict right here, right now, in front of his face how he's going to do. Maybe you want to get up the cage.
No, I don't know. Like, if JJ uses his size and his, his all of his talents that he has, he's probably going to come out with the win. But Hewlin is a tough guy, and I've never seen him get finished at all. It's usually him doing the finishing. He's a really tough guy. He's been put in some bad places, and then he comes back, and he's just really tough. He'll be tough to put away. So we'll just see how that goes.
Thank you very much, Anthony. JJ, thank you very much. All right, we're here with our round table, and this time we literally have a round table, which is what I like. Joining us here from Keeping It Real with Pudgy's syndicated radio show, Pudgy Miller, thank you for joining us. And play-by-play man here of the Carolina Cobras, we have Ken Hall. Thank you for joining us here, gentlemen.
You bet.
We're about a few weeks away out from the start of March Madness, everybody's favorite time, everybody's favorite tournament. And CBSSports.com has 4 ACC schools going into the big dance. You have Duke, North Carolina, Clemson, I believe Florida State if they don't drop off. This time, Duke's road to the Final Four. The ACC's road to the Final Four might be a little tougher. How far do you think ACC schools can make it this far in the big dance this year?
Well, yeah, you said Duke's road could be tougher, which
Everybody
almost goes without saying because last year Duke pretty much had the easiest road that's ever been created to the Final Four. But yeah, the ACC will be interesting to watch. They got 2 teams that are locks to make the tournament, and then CBS had 2 more going. It could be no more going. It could be 4 or 5 more going. It all depends how it plays out. There's a lot of bubble teams, and 2 teams worth watching, I'd say.
Well, with the BCS, everybody's on the bubble. You pay attention to that thing. The BCS is crap. They need to do a playoff like we all said a long time ago, like actually what they're doing to bring these extra teams in. So, I don't know. ACC, I feel like we'll go all the way. I'm not a Duke fan. I'm a Carolina guy. I think everybody knows that by now. But let's see what Duke does. I think Duke has something special going on over there.
I'm a UNC fan with me. I would love to say they're going far this year, but I say maybe getting Sweet 16, maybe the Elite 8. I don't see Duke going that far. If they do, going out in the Final Four, but it's all to remain seen. I don't see too many of these schools. I think I saw Florida State and Clemson might have been there in the mix, but I don't see them doing it that much. Also, we had something unprecedented happen not too long ago with the Daytona 500, where the 20-year-old kid, Trevor Bayne, won the 500. He's not going to be, I think, full-time on the circuit, but he might be on the nationwide. He might be doing a couple of races, I believe. But here's to me, what's more important, Tiger Woods and the PGA Tour? Does the PGA Tour need him more? Or does NASCAR need the 500 winner, the 20-year-old who can't even legally drink, Trevor Bayne, getting their sport back up?
That's an interesting comparison, and I like it because Tiger has been the face of the PGA Tour for the past 10 years. Trevor Bayne, no one heard of him until Sunday. But as far as needs, I would say NASCAR has more of a need. They're the one with the falling numbers.
Yeah.
The PGA Tour without Tiger did take a hit, but it's not hurting for anything. So I would say NASCAR is the one that has the need. I mean, is Trevor Bayne the answer? Probably not by himself. Maybe he can help, but they're the ones that's kind of scrambling and searching for someone.
Mm-hmm.
The PGA doesn't need an identity. It's always been a sport of its own.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger Woods was just one of the new guys that came along and took over, and he dominated. But never before have we seen an athlete like Tiger Woods in golf. The PGA doesn't need an identity. Tiger Woods will bounce back or not. If he plays and he wins, it's a big story. If he doesn't play, it's not a big story. Someone will win, and it will always be the PGA Tour. Now, when it comes to NASCAR, that's a sinking ship. Trevor Bayne won't save that sport. The only thing that will save NASCAR is Tiger Woods in the car with Trevor Bayne winning a race.
It seems sort of interesting that golf and PGA Tour can survive on Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer, even when those guys expire, which they will eventually. Mm-hmm. They can still go back to that whole thing. NASCAR to me seems like they're still trying to go prop out Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson. Who's the Rainbow Warrior? I can't even.
Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon.
Right.
They'll pimp those guys out. Mm-hmm. But it just doesn't mean, it doesn't feel like they're grasping, they're catching on like they used to maybe 5 years ago.
Well, if you look at what's going on in politics, you know that's my MO. If you look at what's going on in politics and what's going on with the economy, you're dealing with cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're dealing with big money tickets. It costs a lot to go to a NASCAR game. You know what I mean? You're not going to just walk up and say, hey, today I'm going to go to a NASCAR game, because you may not be able to get in. If you ever hit, when they come to Charlotte, to Concord, if you ever hit the interstate around that time, it's numerous RVs all over the place. You can't even maneuver around these things. So people actually plan to go to a NASCAR game. Now, if you look at the PGA Tour, it's a little bit different. You know, you kind of know you're going to go watch the PGA Tour. You're not really going to watch, well, Tiger Woods is a different story, but you're not really going to watch one person. It's kind of a group of people. So I think the PGA will stand on its own. But NASCAR, I really don't see them bouncing back. Is there a savior for them?
I think they need new blood. It seems like they need maybe new blood, a Tiger Woods type figure out there. And we're sort of lucky here in Charlotte that we're able to watch both of those events every year. Up in Concord, they have the two races up there during the Chase and the regular season event. Then we have the Quail Hollow event.
Right, yeah. Now the Wells Fargo Championship.
Yeah.
And also the PGA Championship coming in 2017.
Which is another good thing that's come to the city. But which one is going to grow more, you think, here in Charlotte? I think NASCAR is always going to be an attraction, a draw here in Charlotte, but nationally, like you said, and like we touched on, the numbers for NASCAR have dropped.
Right, and nationally, what NASCAR has done, they've kind of gotten away from their roots. They took the tracks out of Darlington, the place in Rockingham's another one, places that live for NASCAR. They've moved into the big cities like Chicago and Vegas, where NASCAR is, who knows, 19th, 20th on people's list of entertainment things to do.
Gambling is like 17th and 18th with
prostitution. In the smaller southern towns, people live for NASCAR.
But if you look at a place like Rockingham, where they had the track in Rockingham, that's the only thing that city had.
Yeah.
And you got, here's the problem, here's the demographic. You got NASCAR, which is a southern-based sport, in an economy that's failing, and then the NASCAR track is the only thing that establishes an economic value in that economy. So once you take that out of there, the economy fails altogether. There's nothing else there. There are no plants there. There are no jobs there. Everyone worked at the racetrack. Now, all the fans, well, of course, were NASCAR fans, but when they move to a bigger city, no one's going to go watch NASCAR in a bigger city like L.A., for example. So they can't win. You know, they can't win. If you want to put them in the failing cities, the smaller cities, in the smaller North Carolina-based cities, and we're 9% unemployed.
Yeah.
Who can go to a NASCAR game in Rockingham, South Carolina that don't already work there?
Well, I mean, people have historically, and I'm not as one to have a gloomy outlook as Pudgy as far as the future of NASCAR. I'm not saying it's doomed. There's a reason it worked really well for a long time, and I see no reason why it can't again.
Yeah.
But they'll have to
They have
kind
to
of
sort of
evolve
reinvent.
with the times. Yeah, I mean, like you said, a big, polarizing, controversial driver that wins, as opposed to Jimmy Johnson that wins, but he doesn't really create drama or excitement on either side. That would be a big step in the right direction.
And that's sort of boring seeing the champion, Jimmy Johnson, I believe, win, 5 straight?
5 straight, right.
How often, do you want to see the same guy?
Right, but the thing is, if it was Kyle Busch or Dale Earnhardt Jr. that won 5 straight, people wouldn't be complaining.
Not at all.
Because everyone would be, this is the year we finally got to beat that guy, or we love Junior so much, let's see if he can make it 6 in a row.
Yeah.
You can apply it to the NBA though. The Knicks, they stopped going to the historically great New York Knicks games because they weren't good. So when the NASCAR stars started losing, people stopped going.
Yeah, start drawing up.
So now, maybe with Trevor Bayne, maybe this will spark something new. I don't know, but personally, man, a sticker this big is $1 million endorsement on a car. So I don't see how they're going to really have to revamp that sport and change the way they do things for them to be successful, in my mind.
Maybe go back to the old rules. Let's sort of move right along here. The NFL has a looming lockout by the time this ends. Either they could be a new deal signed, or on March 5th, when this airs, they could be in a lockout. and maybe even a prolonged lockout. We talked about this one time on your show before. I see there's a difference between the athletes and there's a difference between the owners, and I think there might even be a side war going on between the lower market teams and the big market teams. All that being said, if there is a lockout and it stretches prolonged, what's the minimum amount of games do you think the NFL can have before they say, let's just ditch the season?
I know it's going to happen. There's no way they're going to miss a regular season game. And there's also no way there's going to be a deal done by the March deadline.
No, I don't think so either.
They're going to, because there's no incentive for either side to cave in and say, okay, let's just get a deal done.
Right.
They're going to delay it as long as possible, and then at the 11th hour, either they might probably miss a preseason game because no one would really be that upset if they missed a preseason
No, I
game
don't
or
think
two.
so.
And then late August, they're going to magically come to an agreement that they easily could come to probably tomorrow. Like, you can pretty much predict where it's going to be. They're
That's
gonna
really
meet
sprinkling
somewhere.
on fairy dust and happy dreams, and if that happens, if they come together.
Well, I know it's not wishful thinking to think that they're not going to miss any regular season games.
No.
Yeah. I'm just saying there's too big of an economic incentive on each side to not miss a game. And so whatever they have to do to get it done in August, that's what's going to happen.
They have more issues though. Besides the lockout and the players union agreeing with the owners union or whatever the owners are as a group, they're blacking out games where they suck. You got fans in Jacksonville that can't watch their own games, so they got a bigger problem. And through the midst of all this, they want to add games on the season. They want to take away preseason games and add more regular season games. Now, I'm a fan. I'm all for it. But how is this going to work? And you hadn't even got a deal together. So they got more problems than just this lockout that they have to talk about that's going to involve the lockout. So this could be a while.
Very quickly, one last question. Could this turn into a baseball lockout where the fans took a while for them to get back if they start missing games?
Well, I mean, again, I really don't think that's going to happen, but I doubt it. I think fans will be back instantly.
I agree. I'm with you on that one. I think they'll start back playing immediately.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. That will do it for Charlotte Sports Today. Make sure to tune us in next month in April when we start back up our hour-long shows, and we'll be on twice a month right here on TV Access 21. Thank you very much. I'm Chaz Bryant. Good day, everybody.